So there we've started recording. It's me and John, and it's March, and it's 2019, and we're having a discussion about organic teams versus hierarchical teams. Do you want me to make a short summary, John, for the recording?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So to sum it up, we're discussing this just because I told John that we were discussing the consensus model that we were looking to implement. And I said that in my point of view and in my experience, it's about two different things. Consensus is a tool for a specific type of team, and it's not a model in itself. So in a hierarchical team, which is like infantry in the army, you have leadership from the top and orders that have to be completed in a specific way, and everybody has to trust that the orders are followed. So the leaders are vital, and the ownership of the orders is very clear. And if you go against the chain of command, you basically disordered. So, and that's not something you want to do. So basically, you can change anybody lower down in the chain and still get the job done as long as somebody makes sure that everything is done. So that's leadership from top. In that, the leaders are inexpendable and the people doing the footwork are expendable. Decisions cannot be made with consensus. It would only create confusion and a lot of frustration because you cannot ask people who don't have the right to make decisions to be a part of them. You also can't ask them to invest their soul into it because the soul is invested in the leadership position. Opposite to this is how a Navy SEAL team works. It's just an example. It's just because it's easy, because in the Army, everything is life and death. So in a Navy SEAL team or a special commando, everybody needs to have everybody's back. So everybody's life is on the line at all times. And no matter who is hurt or taken out, somebody else has to be able and willing, without thinking, to step in and complete the mission. Now, in this case, it's not about orders. It's about completing the mission in any way necessary, because those are the orders. So in that case, in organic leadership, the mission is vital that it's clear. And if you trade this to a corporate setting, it means that the vision and mission have to be crystal clear so that anybody can follow any road that is presented without even thinking or having to ask permission to do so. And in this case, it means that consensus isn't even a choice. It's just the way it works, because if everybody's organically online at all times are ready to jump in and take charge and feels equal responsibility, then everybody will be able to do so. And consensus is just a matter of nodding or not nodding. So in an organic group, you will find that people, everybody steps up, everybody takes part, everybody is invested, or you don't go on the mission. In a hierarchical organization, people have lives on the side, and they haven't really invested their life or whatever it is into it. It's just metaphorical, right? Because we're not talking about life and death here in that way. So metaphorically speaking, they haven't really invested that. The only people who have invested are the leaders, which is why leadership becomes vital in a hierarchical organization. Everybody has to feel that they understand the leader and is prepared to go into war for the leader, because the leader has a clear leadership, and whatever they say, they will do blindly. Because that's the way of the structure. So these are two extremes, and in one of them, it works one way, in the other one it works the other way, and it actually, if you look at it from a strictly intellectual point of view or pragmatically logical, you can say that the less skilled everybody is on the team, the higher the need for a hierarchical chain of command. The more skilled everybody is, the better the organic model will work. Because you cannot put when you have unskilled people or inexperienced people, you need what the police call point lists, bullet lists. Do this, do that, do this, do that. Check this, check that, check this, check that. And don't question it, because it's not your job. Now, having said that, there are two more things that apply to organic teams. One thing is that negativity is not permitted, because negativity actually weakens the team. And also, in order to being able to eliminate negativity, there is an obligation for everybody on the team to speak in every subject that is brought up. Because when anybody is silent, you are leaving the vote over to the people who talk, which means that any conflict will happen between the same people all the time because they're the only people talking. So silence is not an option. You show up on every meeting. If you can't show up, you tell people why, and then you do whatever you need to do to catch up afterwards, because that's what's necessary in an organic team, because things happen fast and they happen organically. And you don't do it because you have to, you do it because you want to. So the kind of flow that you get in an organic team is that it doesn't matter if people are there or not, they will have caught up in the next meeting, they will speak up, everybody's opinion will always be heard. So there's no pressure on the leader to make sure that people talk because it's implied that everybody talks. So it's actually a choice. It's a choice on all sides. And it's also about ownership, because if everybody owns equally the mission, there is no doubt that everybody will do their best to reach it. But if one person owns it more than the rest, there's an imbalance. And it's no longer organic. Which is probably why we've had these discussions. But from, for example, Kristin was saying, I am not sure what it is I'm expected to do. This is what I would like to do. And somebody else says, I'm not sure I understand what we're all about. And that's where we said that, that's where I said we need to be clear about the vision or mission we are standing behind, because we're not clear about it, we can't work organically. We can still work, but not organically, because that requires us all to have bought into the vision and mission and agree that it's good. Not only say so, but actually agree so. And the agreement is not logical, it's emotional.
Yeah.
That's it, more or less.
Okay. Well, you want me to give you a quick reaction or a quick?
Absolutely. Any reaction, any question, anything. I'm here to explain, my take on this. And I'm not saying my take is the right take. I'm saying this is my experience, my personal experience from working with a lot of different teams. And there is science in it, but a lot of it is experience.
Okay. Well, also the way you were describing the organic model, to be honest, it sounds very idealistic to me, and I don't know that it really works that way in real life. And specifically, for example, you say that everybody, everybody's going to speak up, and so we have, for example, two people on our team, Linda and Katie, who basically almost never talk.
Yeah, but that's because there's not a culture where they are inspired to talk. We have not agreed on a culture where this is supposed to happen. But when you say idealistic, that means that it hasn't happened. I'm currently in 3 teams that do this, that have been doing it for years. So for me, it's a live experience. There's nothing theoretical about it. And this is also what we did practically in the humanitarian committee. And Kristin told you about it last time she was online. We did this when we were supposed to resolve how we were doing the PowerPoint slides for first responder trainings, because it was going very slow and it was being a lot of frustration. And I offered to moderate how it can be done as an organic team model. Everybody was not on board. Everybody did not believe it could be done. Many said, this sounds like it's going to take a lot of time. And I said, trust me, you're going to love it. And we did it. And to be honest, you can ask them what they feel about it, but what they say is they love it. And that's what Kristin said in the last meeting, because it works. It just works.
Hold on, when you say the last meeting, do you mean the meeting yesterday?
No, because I missed that meeting. The meeting before that, when I popped in the middle, and Kristin stayed after for a while and talked.
You're talking about the humanitarian committee.
I'm talking about Freya.
Okay, I'm sorry, I got confused because you were talking about you came on and you moderated something about the PowerPoints, which I guess is the humanitarian committee, right?
Yes, that was the humanitarian. And me and Kristin and you talked about this on the last Freya meeting.
Yeah. Okay.
And Kristen told you that it worked wonderfully.
Well, okay. I'm not sure about. Again, I've been off the humanitarian community for a couple months, but there was an issue. There was a situation where, and I thought it was a PowerPoint where Lorna and John D were supposed to be, organizing the PowerPoints. Oh, was it the PowerPoint? Is it the PowerPoint? No, that was the brochure. Okay, scratch that. That was the brochure.
The brochure was done in a totally different way. It was very frustrating.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what happens. I mean, I was told by my grandmother, there's two ways of resolving things: the good way and the bad way. And the good way it can be different from moment to moment. It depends on people's ambitions and the ownership, and that's why the ownership is so important. But I would, if you tell me it's idealistic, I would just say I definitely do not agree at all, because I have practical experience of making it work. So it's not an idea. It's something that I have been doing in practice.
That feature, because like I say, I know Katie well, and Katie doesn't speak up at meetings usually. I mean, that's okay. That's okay, but that's just, just the way it is. And
but I can change that in one meeting, I promise. Because nobody wants to waste their time. Nobody wants to sit and waste their time. But some people feel unsafe to talk. Some people feel it won't be heard. It won't make a difference. So they keep it in. And that's when you get the imbalance. It's extremely deteriorating for a team when everybody is not equally invested as a minimum. It slows things down incredibly. And I ran a team like that for a year, and I said, I'm going to leave this now, unless we are prepared to do this in a way that actually works. And then we changed it, and it's been running for a year and a half now, and it's a dance. But some people actually left the team.
Okay. Well, another issue is that I don't know if you were there, but maybe I don't know if it was the last meeting or the meeting before, but Linda raised her hand and said, I have no idea what this organization is about. I don't know what we're doing. And last year we had spent at least 3 months revising our vision and mission statements.
Yes.
And we got everyone on board and said, yeah, this is the mission. And by the way, I compromised. I was not completely happy with the vision and mission.
I don't think everybody is happy with it, to be honest, John. And I think that's the reason.
Yeah, well, I've asked for feedback, and I've asked, and people have signed on, people have agreed.
Yeah, but I don't think they have agreed because they agree that it's good. I think they've agreed because it's too much time spent that doesn't lead to an agreement. You are saying that you're not happy with it, so and you are one of the leaders of this, so that says enough. That's not a mission that everybody's agreeing on, because if you're not, then everybody isn't. So it's not there. It doesn't matter if you spend 3 more years on it. If it isn't there, people are not behind it, and that it is as simple as that.
Well, we have another issue which you may or may not be aware of, but Holly.
Mm-hmm.
And Holly's one interest in FRIA is she wants to do trainings and she wants to get paid for it. She's a psychologist. She's a professional, and we had a long thing in the last meeting where she was saying things like, I can't do training yet. And when the money comes in, we're going to do this, and we've got to get ready. So for when the money comes in, we're ready. And her entire focus seems to be about doing trainings, and when the money comes in, so she can be paid. And she's the only one who has that focus. And I pointed out to her, Holly, we don't need to wait till the money comes in, quote unquote. Kristen, and someone else, I'm forgetting who, are doing trainings already. We can, any of us could do a training this weekend if we wanted to. We don't have to wait till the money comes in. But that's her focus, and that's her agenda.
Yep. And that's not a problem in a organic team. The thing is that everybody's agenda has to be clear. Everybody's agenda has to be clear. And, to be honest, Robin's agenda isn't crystal clear. She is very careful in speaking up. I love her. But it's not like she's the owner economically of the organization and will have the last say at everything. But in practice, you are leading it and running it. And that is unclear in some ways. And that creates an imbalance in my world because it's unclear who actually decides on things. Because that's not organic, because it's not like the mission is crystal clear and anybody can take charge. The mission is almost clear, and you have a larger say than most others because you are spending more time on it and you're holding it, and nothing wrong with that. But at the end of the day, even beyond you, Robin could feel that this is not the way I wanted to go with this, and then it would change again. And that's an unclear chain of command.
Well, except that Robin has said very clearly that she's willing to do what the group wants, even if it overrules her.
Yes.
And she probably said that at a meeting when you were not there.
No, I heard her say that, but I'm not sure. Would you say that you would say the same thing, that you're happy to do whatever the group wants, even if it overrules you?
I've done it at times.
Yeah, but is that what you would like? Is that what you would like to happen?
No, I mean, it's not what I would like to happen, but
no, exactly. And that's the point. She is her agenda is on the table, and she's saying, whatever you decide, I'm with you. Holly is saying, I am happy to do trainings for money, and I'm happy to do it in the organization, and I will do it in this way if the money comes in. And that's also a clear agenda. And in the same way, and I love you, John, in every way, but in the same way, you are transmitting that you are not happy with all the decisions, which creates a kind of distortion of the mission, because it means that people know that you're giving in, kind of grudgingly giving in to stuff. And that actually means that there is a grudge. And that's not organic. And if your agenda on the table was, I'm going to be leading this, I'm going to be putting in time, and I'm not going to be agreeing with all of you, and I would like to have an extra vote so that if I don't agree with you all as a chairman, and this is normal in a board of directors, that the chairman can have an extra vote. And if you all agree that I can have the extra vote, we can run this, which means that it'll be a consensus every time. But if I really find that it goes against what I believe is the mission, I will cast my extra vote and I will think carefully about it. Then it would be on the table and it wouldn't be a feeling. But now it's a hidden discussion, which actually debilitates a little bit the process.
Okay, I'm sorry, but I don't agree. Obviously, I don't have an extra vote. None of us has an extra vote. We haven't set it up that way.
No, I know we don't. But I'm saying that what you transmit is that when you are unhappy with the way things are going, you can lead with a whole hand in a way that a shy person will shy back. And that creates a lack of investment from their side. Because you have power, John. You have power in your voice, you have power in what you transmit, and with great power comes great responsibility. And in this case, if you have people like Katie who doesn't want to speak, then a powerful person will stop her from that.
No, but that's the kind of person she is. She is. I know Katie fairly well, and she is naturally a shy person.
Yes, but that doesn't mean that she has to be a quiet, shy person. I'm speaking from the heart, John. I see Freya.
Hey, I would love to have Katie speak up more. Okay.
Yes, but then we need to create an atmosphere where she feels that is possible. And that atmosphere includes feeling that everybody has to be heard. See, the thing is this: when you spend time on a committee, you're taking up space. And you are also either slowing it down or speeding it up. Now, a lot of people on the teams, dysfunctional teams I've been in before, a lot of good people, but just not agreeing on how to work together, that's a dysfunctional team. So nothing wrong with the members. Everybody's a good person. I love all of them, but some of them simply don't row the boat in the same direction as the rest. So either we agree on how to row or the person gets out. because it won't work with one person rowing in the opposite direction. And usually people agree as long as they understand why. So there has to be a culture of saying, hey, we need to make sure that we're rowing in the right direction. And that means that we have both a right to speak up, but also an obligation, which means we go around. And usually the chairman will speak last. So there are a lot of rituals that embrace this. One of them is we all speak. When there's a decision, everybody needs to say something about it, and the chairman speaks last. So it doesn't taint anybody with the chairman's decision or opinion. And that way, it's very easy to make a decision. But if anybody who wants to speak speaks, some people will hog the microphone and some people will speak in their cause and their wishes, which means it becomes an issue about who wants to do this and who wants to do that.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I spaced out the last sentence you said.
So when everybody, if you have a ritual where the chairman says, we have an issue, we want to make a decision, I'd like to hear all of your opinions about it, and then the chairman does not say his or her opinion at all, just asks everybody in order to speak shortly, 2 minutes each on the subject. That takes like 10 minutes or 8 minutes, depending on how many people are in the meeting. And once everybody has spoken, the chairman speaks, and then we just simply say, can we make a decision? Can we move in favor of this or in favor of that? That way, everybody has to speak and will speak, and nobody will be humbled or shied because it's an obligation. That's the process. If you're there, it's because you speak. If you don't want to speak, that's not where you should be. That's what it is to be on a committee. It's an obligation and an option. And when you make that clear, you will quickly weed out the people who simply want to be in the background, because when they have to speak on every meeting, they will either go, I can do this, or they'll go, I'm not comfortable.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's important that the opinion of the chairman comes last. I can be a lot like you. I am a lot like you in many of the meetings. If I'm the chairman of the meeting, I lead with the whole hand, I tell things, and I have, by adapting to these rules and rituals, I can stay being the way I am, but I do so after everybody else. And it simply makes it easier, because then nobody can say that I've been trying to push my opinion or whatever, because everybody has had a say before me. And it really, really changes things.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, I mean, to be honest, I have all kinds of question marks in my mind.
Bring them on.
Okay. Because, I mean, the reality is that, you know, not everyone is equally invested.
No. And when you say in reality, believe me, John, I am completely aware of reality. Reality is what this works in. It's not a theoretical way of running board meetings or committees. It's a very real way.
No, but you, one of the things you said was that everybody's equally invested in decision.
Yes. Yes. And to do that, you need to do a process where you get everybody equally invested. And that's a process, that's a workshop. That's what I started doing with the consensus and the vision and mission. But then it was stopped, and it was done in a different way. And then it just simply...
What was done in a different way?
The actual vision and mission statement. The whole process was done in a different way. We started doing it as a consensus discussion, which means everybody needs to speak, and you do the time, and you go up to the goal, you discuss it live, and that way it's everybody's equally invested because everybody's there when it happens. When it becomes something where you collect opinions in a document and present them back to people, it's no longer an organic process. It's individual minds communicating in a mail chain, trying to come to a conclusion together after just speaking in papers to each other, which is the same as having no organic process at all. And that's just the way it is. I mean, nothing wrong or good or bad with it. You can do either way, but if you want the organic process, you can't ask people to write things in a document and then discuss it, because that's the same as discussing endlessly, except in paper. If you want them invested in the mission, you come up with the exact wording of the mission together. It might take an hour, it might take two, but rarely more. And once that's done and everybody's invested equally, and everybody has spoken, and everybody has to have spoken, then it's rarely an issue you need to bring up again. I've done this with a restaurant. I've done this with a shareholding company. I've done this with a cold call company. I've done this with a football team. I've done this with two committees. The road of getting there is different because people are different, but the process is the same. So that was one question mark. How do we get people on board? What's another question mark?
Well, it's not really a question, but it's you know, it's an ongoing issue for, you know, with, for example, with Holly, you know, because like I say, she has this agenda of doing training, getting paid for it. And then I had a one-on-one conversation with her a couple of weeks ago, and she has an ongoing issue, and I suspect it's not just with Freya, but she has a feeling of not being heard. And I had asked people for feedback on, you know, on possible goals, and she sent me this long list that of, you know, of goals that she thought, and several of the goals were listed. I'm sorry, there was an acronym she used, but the acronym was basically after the funding, post-funding, after the funding comes in, was the acronym. So we have to get ourselves together so that when we're ready after the funding comes in, and after the funding comes this. And anyway, several of them were phrased in terms of, you know, the funding, but it was, anyway, the goals were just very, very, it was not clear what you said. It was complicated and ambiguous, and, you know, I sent it back to her, and it wasn't just me. I checked with Robin and several people, and people said it was just unworkable, you know. But then, you know, so I sent that back to her and gave her that feedback. But then she has this, you know, this perception that, you know, people are not listening to her.
Well, again, John, I mean, I'm saying, I'm not proposing how this should be done. I'm just explaining my view on it and how I propose that it can be done. And doing that, having individual discussions is a good thing, but doing that way is the opposite of organic collective consciousness, because she is sending a list to you that I have no idea about, and you are sending it to other people, but not everybody, and not at the same time. Which means...
Holly sent that to the group. Holly sent it to everyone.
Okay. And, that one. I remember it.
Right, but another issue is exactly this. Not everyone reads the posts.
No, because...
Not everyone's up to speed.
Because there's not a culture of it. Now, if you come to a family where everybody washes their hands and everybody does the dishes together when it's time for dinner, then everybody will. If you come to a family where there is no culture of washing the dishes together, they will leave it to the person who does it, usually mom. And that's what you have. It's the culture. So a culture is not something you just decide and say, everybody's going to help with the dishes. It's something that grows out of doing things together. So what I have been doing with these teams is I've decided that if you want to be on the team, it's because you actually have thought about it. You've thought about spending the time on the meetings. You've thought about contributing with your opinions. And if you really are prepared to do that, are you prepared to do that in a model where we actually agree together? That means we're going to follow some simple rules. And the rules are everybody speaks. We come prepared to the meeting. We come on time. If we miss the meeting, we catch up later. If we have an opinion, we voice it so everybody hears it, because anything else is a hidden discussion, and hidden discussions will pop up to the surface as not collective understandings. It deteriorates the team when there are hidden discussions. Any discussion going on between few people usually will imbalance the collective effort. And once you get the collective effort on the road, where everybody is following the basic simple rules of contribution, then you will basically find out who wants to stay and who doesn't, because it's going to be a little bit painful in the beginning for some. For some, it's going to be a walk in the park. And once it's up running, you can have more or less the same meeting, reaching the same decisions in basically half to 60% of the time it took previously. And everybody will leave the meeting feeling great about it, and everybody will join the meeting feeling good about it. And that's the biggest advantage of this. As to what becomes done, usually the same amount of stuff becomes done, but it's not one person doing it, being pissed about the rest, or some people just talking and not doing stuff. It's going to be a collective effort, reaching a collective goal. And sometimes it becomes a lot more efficient because you start cutting corners, but it takes half a year to develop a business culture, especially if you only meet once a month. What we did in these teams, we said, we're going to meet once a week until we get the basic culture running. So we decided, we did a run for it. And I said, who's in and who's out? And we said, okay. They told me, they'll give me 4 meetings to get this running. And then we did that. And afterwards, we didn't go back. And if it hadn't worked, probably some people would have left. But that's because I come from music. So if you have a band and one person in the band is not playing their instrument, it's not going to be a band anymore. And they still want to get paid, and they still want to take up space on stage, and they want to ride in the car, and they want to get food. But if they're not playing their instrument when everybody's playing, then it's not a band effort. It's a solo effort.
Yeah.
And that doesn't work. Doesn't matter how good they are. Doesn't matter how bad they are.
Yeah. Right.
So when it comes to Freya, I regard Robin as the producer of the band, and well, maybe not the, yeah, well, she's kind of the producer. She's the owner in many ways, and you are the project leader.
Yeah.
And you are a strong personality, and a strong personality who is project leading. If anybody isn't in for a organic team effort, they will convert into followers. That's what happens. The stronger the leader, the weaker the followers. And that's it's an enigma. And it took a while for me to wrap my head around it. So back in the days, in the infantry, the officers would lead from the front. They would yell and shout, and everybody come up behind me, and I'm going force first, and follow me into the fire, and they would run first. But then they changed the whole scheme after the Second World War, and leaders go from behind. They inspire the troops, and they make sure that nobody's left, that nobody drops, nobody falls dead. If anybody's weak, they run up and help them. But they lead from the behind. And it just changed the whole way everything works. It's a strange concept, but it actually is more efficient. So you send the person who wants to lead the training to do the training. You send the person so you get leaders. Everybody becomes a leader. And they're trained from somebody who's standing back. And I think you do that wonderfully when you do that.
I'm sorry, I do which wonderfully?
You do that wonderfully when you do that. I mean, it's not like we're not doing this organically. At times we are an organic team, and we just function like that because everybody just agrees on what's about to be done. So in that case, boom, everything just works. It's when things are unclear that it becomes a problem. What's the next thing we're supposed to do? Are we getting traffic to a website, or are we doing trainings for schools, or are we supporting organizations? And that's when it becomes unclear, and that's when the leadership needs to be stronger. When it's very clear, there's a fire, we need to save everybody. Can we do this now, please? then it's very easy for somebody to say, I'll get the water, I'll get the hose, I'll get some extra band-aids, because the mission is so clear. But Freya has had an unclear mission. Is it the website or isn't it the website? Is it gaining traffic or not? Is it blogging or not? How do we measure success? I don't think there yet is. We've discussed that success is visitors to the site, or should it be view counts on YouTube, or should it be qualitative, that some organization says, you really gave us the tools we missed, and only 5 people saw them, but you saved 5 lives. So how do we measure that?
Yeah.
It's kind of unclear still to me.
Yeah. No, it is unclear. It is unclear, and it's something, it's just, it's a sticky issue that we're wrestling with.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. If you said, oh my God, there's this Catholic priest has been discovered, he's been abusing women in the congregation, it's in Virginia, who wants to go there? And all of a sudden, Holly will probably say, I can go there. Can Freya contribute to my travel cost? No, we can't. I'll go there anyhow, she'll say, because it's a clear mission, and that's what she wants. I don't think it's about the money with her. I think the money is because she needs money. If she was economically independent, she probably would do the same thing anyhow, because she really likes doing it. So, it's all about personal needs at the time. So if the mission is clear and the need is clear, people will step up. When the mission is unclear, the doers will disappear.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's where we're after right now.
And I think, I really think, if you asked me, Ulf, what would you propose for Freya? And I already have proposed it. I would say I would contact 5 organizations that actually need the tools. I would do a webinar with them, explain what we offer, and have them say if it fits what they need. And if not, we might want to consider changing what we offer or looking somewhere else. And by doing that, we also network with them and create the knowledge we need to find out what they want from us. And when I proposed it, the opinions that came were that's hard to do, it's impossible, it's difficult, and all these things. And if those beliefs are the ones that are in the way of that, then I would call them limiting beliefs, because I don't think that's hard at all. And I think on contrary, I think it's necessary to grow and to find the community we need to be helpful for. I also see that there's a slight discrepancy between what we hope for and what we actually have. Some of us think we have a really nice website, and some of us thinks it needs a lot of work. So having both those opinions in the same group becomes an unclear effort. Because with that opinion, some will feel that's good enough, leave it, and others will feel it needs a lot more work.
Well, actually, the consent that to be honest, I haven't heard anyone say that the website needs work. To be honest, I mean,
well, it's in the notes of weaknesses and strengths. There's plenty of notes that say that we need a graphical help. We need to sort the information so it's more available.
I have to go back and look at it, but I'm not recalling that. I mean, the feedback from people is that they love the website, and obviously, the one issue I see is that it needs to constantly be upgraded. New content needs to be upgraded and changed.
But again, that also will be that's also my client is here now, so I'm going to have to. But that also is part of the unclarity of what we're actually supposed to do. Is it a website, or is it a service, or do we need to talk to people? I hope this is helpful in some way, John. I'm just going to have to open the door now. Hang on a sec. God dag, god dag. Hjärtligt välkomna. Hej. En sekund, jag håller på att avsluta förra klienten. Bara kom in i. Varsågoda. Får jag bara hänga av sig. Right, John. So I'm going to have to pop up. I'll send you a link to the recording and talk more. But I appreciate this discussion. And if you want, like I said, the offer is there. I'd be happy to lead the team through a first step in this. And it's not a long procedure at all.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Right. Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
I miss you, man. Thanks for everything you do.
All right. You too. Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.